younger brothers and sisters from the basic level. That is to say, those who just wrote their last paper in the BEC. A big congratulations to them. They are now graduates. We thank God to just see them through, and then all their wishes should also come to pass. We apologize for the delay. We know you were going through some technical challenges, and then we are back again to exclusive campus show. Yes, with me here is my guest, Mr. Swala Fuseini, who is the vice president for Lila Foundation. Last week we were discussing about the xenophobic attack in South Africa. We couldn't finish, so today we'll be continuing from where we left, and then we hope that you also contribute, bring in your messages, and then we would have fruitful discussions. Yes, so we'll be going for a quick break, and then when we come back, we begin with our conversation. Yes. You are welcome back to exclusive campus show. My name is Suleiman Issah. I'm your host for today's program, and then my guest is Mr. Swala Fuseini, who is the vice president for Lila Foundation, who are into humanitarian services as well. And then if you are watching us from Facebook, we also appreciate your comments and your contributions. And then you can also share your congratulation messages so that we can also wish your brothers and sisters who just wrote their final exams. And then we will begin with our conversation. Mr. Swala, last week we were discussing about this xenophobic attack and then the South Africa apartheid, and we couldn't finish actually, and then we want you to take us through back again with the xenophobic attack, which is to say that the progress, we want to begin with the progress that is going on in South Africa currently. What have they achieved so far? And then how did a little brief on how the apartheid came to an end, and a little background about how Nelson Mandela again or liberated the African continent and South Africa with the help of some African nations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay. So first of all, I want to congratulate all the BEC candidates, the students who just finished writing their BEC yesterday. I had my two sisters also writing. Rihanna is there. I want to congratulate them and then all the accolades and stuff. Now, yes, last week we couldn't finish with the topic. I think we ended at the progress and then the challenges facing South Africa currently. So I think we'll start right away. We'll get right away to it. So currently, South Africa has achieved a lot. I think they are a member of the BRIC. They are part of the BRIC countries, and before that, when the apartheid regime ended in 1994, certain structures were put in place to make sure that the economy was open. When I say it was open, I mean it was open to the world market. They open trade and other things. So since then, from 1994 to 2026 that we are in today, South Africa has actually developed across certain aspects of the industry. We have the mining industry, the tourism, the banking, the telecommunications, and then we also have I think I've mentioned the mining, the manufacturing, the banking, and then the telecom. We also have the agriculture aspect. All these sectors or all these industries have developed over the years. You understand? And then also we also have the infrastructure development, that is the roads, hospitals, and then this one access to electricity to um, various areas or the remote areas where under the apartheid regime they had no access to some of these facilities. All these things are there. They also have the political or this one the political development where now a lot of people have access to the political administration of the country. They are able to participate. Yeah, let me put it that way. They are able to participate in the democratic governance of the country.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are some of the things that were not possible or were not achieved before the independence. So during the apartheid regime, even though some of these things existed, they were not as open as it is today. So some of these things are what I can say South Africa has achieved, because when it comes to our continent, Africa, South Africa is actually doing very, very well. Even on the global stage, they are also doing very, very well. But all these things progress these progress that South Africa has made over the years are things because they didn't just happen overnight. Yeah, they didn't just happen overnight. It started it was a systematic or conscious effort by the apartheid regime at the time to put in place certain economic infrastructures to enable them that these things that we are experiencing today, the economic growth or development South Africa is experiencing today is due to the systematic and then the infrastructures that were put in place under the apartheid regime to ensure the success of the regime at the time. So when they transitioned from the apartheid to the modern day democracy, those particular systems kept in place. The systems were already there. So they built upon that, introduced new ones, and open one. At first, let me use for lack of a better word, let me say it was somehow close to the white minority, but right now it's open. There's been a lot of reforms that the government has put in place, but just that those reforms are not enough. So generally, South Africa is doing very well. It's just that majority of the country's wealth are in the hands of the few rich people. Yeah.
Okay. So you see, there is a news from their progress so far. Now there is an issue, the statement from the spokesperson of the president of South Africa, saying that all the videos that we have been seeing with regards to the xenophobic attack are not real. Yes, she made a statement with regards to that they are fake videos, and then if Ghana or other affected countries are to send a petition to the AU, which is the African Union, they would have their agenda, or they will also face whatever is coming to them. But they think that whatever video is going on currently is not a reality, and then it is a fake. I don't know what you have to say with that statement that she made. Yeah.
So yeah. So the xenophobic attack that has been happening in South Africa has been, this is not the first time. You understand? That has been happening over the years. 2015, we had Nigerians, you know, being the victims of that. 2019, it happened again. We have Zimbabwe, Mozambique. All these people have suffered over the years. But what the difference between those times and then this time is that the how quick the response came. That is how quick Ghana was to respond. Our foreign minister immediately summoned the foreign minister of South Africa, Ghana, to inquire about the issue, and then at the same time, it's also received global criticism. This is not the first time it is actually getting that attention, but just that is how Ghana reacted. We reacted firmly, and then we also it was a very quick response. There was a quick response from Ghana to them, and as you mentioned, Ghana is going to raise that the concern at the African Union. Now that to answer your questions, South Africa is president saying that some of the videos are not, actually false and things. Those ones are just, these are some of the statements that come to, actually try to bring down the tone to make it, to not scare off investors, to not make South Africa look bad for investors or even people who are traveling. One of the things that is holding the South African economy is the tourism aspect. When you have a situation where tourists feel like they are not safe coming into your country, they are going to lose that channel of revenue. You understand? So these statements are, I think, it's very very good that the two countries are coming together to try and resolve this issue.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. And going forward, you see, with this all attacks, they have brought their statements that it is false, and then Ghana are on the other side saying that it is true. And then because of the videos that we've seen, and because of some support that they've given to the Ghanaian victims, and then Nigerians are also coming in and saying that they are going to bring their citizens back to Nigeria because of the fear what might happen to them. And Ghana too are also doing the same, or they are yet to do the same. The main issue here is that some people are saying that what is happening in South Africa is solely political, because the government are only some governments or some of the officials are only condemning the actions, and without arresting the bullies, or let me say the people who are doing the violence. They are not arresting them. Some are saying it's solely political. Some too are saying, well, it is their country, it's not politically involved, or it's not politically affiliated. I don't know what you have to say with regards to that.
Yeah. So what is the first of all, the xenophobic attack didn't start, let's say, even in 2020 or just last month.
Mm.
There were, like I mentioned last week, that the xenophobic attack started right after South Africa gained their independence, when the apartheid regime ended. Prior to the end of the apartheid, the borders of South Africa were closed. You understand? The white people ensured straight. There were like a straight this one migration rules. So it was not easy for South Africa, for the other African members to get into South Africa. You understand? It was very, very difficult for other African countries to get inside South Africa. And then again, so this isolation, there's one record that some of the things, some of the reasons why people attribute to the xenophobic attack, or let me say Afrophobic, is that they say there was long period of isolation. South Africans, the black South Africans inside South Africa, felt like they did not have any experience encounter with other African countries, most African countries, because the white minority that were ruling them at the time made it difficult for other African countries to enter. Now, fast forward, when the apartheid regime ended in 1994, the borders were open for other African countries to enter. So when these other African countries members entered South Africa, that is when the first wave of xenophobic attacks started coming. It was all political. It was to blame that, oh, now the limited opportunities that were available there, your black leaders or your fellow other African members are coming in, trooping into so forth. Now, if you say that the people who are protesting, it started, there's whatever we call the Operation Dudula, yes. It started in 2021. The main objective of that particular movement was to, clamp down on the drug abuse and all these drug-related crimes in the neighborhood. That was where it started. So one of the founders, I think in one of his recent interviews that I watched, he stated that he left the movement because he realized that the movement was going to be transformed into target other African members, all African immigrants. You understand? You realize that the people leading this movement, if you say that they are illegal, nobody likes immigrants in their country. Now, if these immigrants are coming into your country and they are contributing positively to the economic growth and for it to have a long-term development, it is a good thing. So the right thing to do is for documentation. I think the problem that South Africa has is the documentation of its people. So they allow the influx of their African neighbors into the country, but then we have a very difficulty in documenting them. It's not only the African members. all white. There are a lot of white people living in the white dominated areas who are not South Africans. They are all they don't even also have the right documents to be in South Africa. But because they are white, these people are very scared. Like you said, there is some form of motivation. Anytime that the government is looking to point blame or they want to, scapegoat at people, they just use some of these operations to shift the focus or the attention from the real issues affecting the country or the economy. So if the government is saying that, if the people are saying that, why don't they go and arrest these people? You have to know that these people who are leading these things, some of them when you go behind the scenes, there is always someone pulling the strings behind, because you can't just you ask yourself, what is the job that person is doing? I mean, so we've all seen the videos that are circulating, the people that are going about saying they are protesting. You look at them, the average person, the average young man within age group, it's very difficult to tell the kind of skill that the person is having, or the educational level, the educational background of that person, because looking at how he or she is acting. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
All right. So let's move on to the economic aspect. You see, in Ghana, we are majority of people are using MTN SIM, the MTN, and then MTN is believed to come from South Africa. Now, when the xenophobic attack is happening in South Africa, and then Ghanaians also say that, well, if you don't want our people to work there and also have a livelihood, then we also make sure that your existing company in our country do not operate, or we are going to increase tariffs or some taxes so that it may influence you to stop attacking our people there and together with African people. What is the consequences of Ghana imposing higher taxes or disallowing these telecommunication people to stop operating in Ghana? What is going to be the consequences on Ghana in terms of economy and then South Africa?
Okay. So let me say, it's not even only MTN that is a South African company that is operating in Ghana. We have ShopRite, the ShopRite holding.
Yes.
It's also South Africa. We have the MultiChoice Africa, the EST, and then we have the Standard Bank Group. All these companies, all these organizations are South African companies that are operating in Ghana. Now, the recent uh, interaction between the government of Ghana and then the government of South Africa is like, the foundation is the main aim is to make sure that the recent attacks that the Ghanaian face, or the Ghanaian community, or even the African at large are facing in South Africa, they put a stop to it. You understand? So now, if we are looking at the economic implication of this one, what is of this particular negotiation or this particular attack, what is going to happen is that you will see when they receive the two countries come together and say, look, we look at the trade balance. You understand? We look at the how South African companies are doing in Ghana and then vice versa. We look at what Ghana is contributing to the South African economy through the bilateral trade deals and then business expansion or even tourism aspect. South Africa will not look at it and say, maybe when they look at their books and they realize that, should in case they decide to leave things as they are, that is maybe to just allow people to just attack other foreign countries, let's say specifically Ghana, and then the blowback is going to be that their economy, they are going to lose major investment, or they are going to lose the huge customer base from Ghana. They will definitely take an action. But it's just that, there is this thing, it doesn't happen overnight. There will definitely be a diplomatic discussion after which these things will go. To be honest with you, when the incident happened, the things that how the MTN Ghana or even Shopify holding, the way they solidify their base in their presence in their country, it's going to be difficult for something that I wouldn't, for the lack of better words, let me use. It's not random. Yeah, it is not random. It's systematic. But just that Ghana we just experienced our first wave, or the recent attacks were on our citizens. It's just that what I'm trying to say is that the economic implication is going to be, it was just a short infraction or just some short term challenges. That was here and there, the tension between the two, I mean, foreign missions. You realize that Ghana, this one, our foreign minister called the foreign minister for South Africa, and then they held this one a meeting. They held a meeting to understand the issue and then also what was being done to resolve the issue. As I speak with you right now,
Baraka
the
FM.
our brother who was attacked or whose video went viral is in Ghana right now. And then he has received full support from the minister. He went to meet the foreign minister, and the engagement have been taken. And then he's now relocated to Ghana. There are a lot of other people. There are a lot of others that we did not see, or the government couldn't. They were not ready to come back to the country. But then the point is that if it persistent action or persistent activities of these attacks will result in some form of economic, because the government will the other government will put pressure, economic pressure, to South African government to ensure that these attacks are not to be continued. Yes.
Yes, but
In
you
terms
see,
of
the government of South Africa happens to be dormant because they are not taking any actions, or we've not seen any actions against their own people. So I mean, I feel that when they try to take actions, their own people might stand against them, because already their people are blaming the government for allowing illegal immigrants to into their country, and then the government is not doing anything. And then if the government is supposed to stand against them or arrest some citizens of South Africa, it's going to be a big blow, or an effect to the sitting government. I don't know if that's the reason why the
yes,
government are not trying to intervene.
yeah, you see, the South African problem is this one. It's a structural. There's a structural problem. You understand? After they gain their independence, the system, like I mentioned from the beginning of our conversation, that the income inequality in South Africa is so huge. You understand? The wealth in the country, we have about 10% of the population controlling about 80% of the total country's wealth, or foreign investors. So all the monies that are in South Africa, last week I mentioned that South Africa doesn't have xenophobic problem, they have Afrophobic problem. That is, they have it is towards Africans, not other white people. When you go to the white dominated areas, there are a lot of there are a lot of white people living in those areas without proper documents. Now, the government itself, or even the structure of the South African government, or even country or society as a whole, is very difficult. It's very difficult to just move away from what the structures that the white people put in place to ensure that they were dominating every aspect of South African society. So if the very people who are protesting, like I mentioned the other time, the people that these people are sacking are, it's just petty things. You can't just go into a hospital, or you can't walk into a bank and say that the workers over there are taking it, so they should move away. No. The problem is that South Africa has problem of documentation. You understand? It's the documentation that will make, because if somebody has a traveling visa and the person has come to your country for, maybe the person is having 2 years, and then after the 2 years, the person is also staying to venture into other businesses. This is somebody that is willing to stay. So I'm sure the person's idea, the person was moving into the country to go and venture into a business or go and seek an economic opportunity. That was so if the system was strict enough to provide such documentation for people, we will not be facing the challenge that we are having today. So look, we can put all the blame on the people protesting or saying that the government is not doing much for them. But at the same time, the structure that has been put in place is to ensure that these things keep reoccurring, because the more and more these actions keep recurring, there's somebody somewhere who is reaping or who is benefiting. We want to do that. The blame will be that we told you that it was better if we were leading. We've given you the chance, and so you cannot manage your people. You understand? You cannot manage your people. So that it goes to say you can't manage your people. So if we were the ones in charge, we will not be experiencing some of these challenges.
Yeah. So,
There's
okay, I'm
yeah. So
listening.
I want to link it to this. So there's this popular saying that after South Africa gained their independence, the white people there was a negotiation to ensure or to protect the white minority in their society, and the people always attribute South Africa's development or economic growth and development to the presence of the white people.
Baraka FM.
It is just that the white people, when you look across African countries where where they were present or where they are present, they are still present as we speak. It is because of the geographical convenience. When the white people came to Ghana, they were not going to stay here because Ghana here was more like a jungle. It's difficult for it they were catching all sort of activities here and there. But when they moved, the people in South Africa felt like the place that geographically the location was more conducive for them. Well, they are having a very nice environment, so they thrive. But currently, when they gave in when South Africa gained independence, and now the system is allowing a free flow of individuals, and then even allowing blacks to participate in other things, they are still taking actions to undermine the development of the black community, because they still have it at the back of their mind that should these people have economic superiority over us, they are going to sack us from here. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. I think our time is almost up, but then I want us to look at this issue very well. You see, Ghanaians and other African nations are condemning the violence in South Africa. Now, don't you think that South African citizens or the protesters are trying to speak to the rest of the African nations? Because the reason I'm saying is that Ghana gained their independence in 1957. South Africa was liberated in 1994. Now, if you look at the statistics that the media or some people from the South African has brought, immigration in Ghana, that's as at last year or 2026, was around 19 million or so. But then majority of the immigrants in Africa were in South Africa, which means there is more opportunities in South Africa, and these South Africans are the same country who gained their independence late compared to all African people. So now South African people are thinking that whilst we even had our independence late, and then some of our companies are even thriving in their nations, they're going back to their country. I think we can also make more improvement or achievement in our country, and then to Ghanaians or other nations, they can sit in their home, develop their country compared to what South Africans are doing. Yeah.
You see, what you just said, every time that we get platform, we are always advocating for, economic improvement. Nobody wants to leave their home and then go and be slaves in other people's countries. You understand? What the African continent is suffering is imperialism. We gain political independence. We didn't gain economic independence. You understand? So currently, even though we think that we are independent, we are still dependent on the system has been the structure has been put in place to ensure that economically we shouldn't be independent. That is what we have some of our talk speakers across the continent fighting for. So you may say that we may argue that South Africa gained their independence late and things, but the system or how the South Africa's economy was put up, if similar actions were to be taken across the African country, you need a revolution. You need toughness. Mostly we use, when people use this one, Singapore, as a benchmark. Everybody is using Singapore as a benchmark. But when you look at between 1957 to between 1957 and 1980 across the African continent, every country or every state that was trying to gain economic independence, you had your leader being eliminated or being opposed. There was a coup attempt. We experienced the same thing. Nkrumah saw the vision. What Dr. Kwame wanted to create for the African continent or even Ghana, you could not, there was no way he could achieve what he wanted to achieve if we were experiencing every 4 years election, every 4 years election. You understand? The South Africa's economy that everybody is talking about, oh, even though they gained their independence, that it was a one-party state where they were choosing their leader, even though they were corrupt. They had a clear vision to ensure that the white people would maintain the economic superiority in the country. You understand? So even though it was one party, you could speak of a whole lot of corruption, but the main goal, they had one goal, that was to ensure the white minority were ruling over the whole of the country. So if we have other African countries, and then the main goal or the main aim of that country is to ensure economic development, is to ensure employment, is to ensure proper health facilities, we will have to stop this hypocrisy of saying, when I come, I'll do this, I'll come, and then when you vote people into power, they come, and then after 2 years, all that. Every day you are thinking about how to win the next election. There is no way you can. The continent is going to develop, or even each country is going to develop. You understand? So, if we really want to come back to our countries to come and develop our country, what needs to be done? What needs to be done is to have a national agenda where we all rally on. We are just so hypocrite. From the government to the people, you can just walk into a market to a place and see that there are all sort of activities that are taking place that are not good, they are not proper, or there's no way they are going to, improve the economic well-being of that particular society or that community. But then they'll keep doing it because they feel like it is what is convenient for them, not what is convenient for everybody. So if we want to achieve that, yes, we need economic independence. There's still white imperial activities happening across the continent. That is what we need to wake up to. More young people coming up, we have to educate ourselves more, understand what we have to understand that, for us to be truly independent, we need to be economically sufficient. You have to be economically sufficient. When you are economically sufficient and you become a sovereign state. When you are not economically sufficient, there's no way you can be a sovereign state. So you can speak of me being independent. I don't want anybody to come into my country. I'm also not going to go anywhere. You can actually take a stand that you are not going to allow these immigrants coming into your country. When you are a sovereign state, when you are economically sufficient now, when you go on the table, you can say that no, if you are coming in, this is how I'm making it. These are the things these are my options. If you can take it, then you take it. But here you are not economically stable, economically, when you are not independent, and then you have other people pulling the strings. Venture capital, you have people bringing in their money to come and support you, or having their businesses in your country where they know that when you know that the moment those businesses are taken out of your country, your economy is going to collapse. Every time you will just be facing these challenges.
Okay. So if I may understand you properly, you are saying that there is a difference between independent nation and then economic independence. And then Ghana, as we speak right now, we are not independent, right? Ghana, as we speak, economically, we are not independent. I want you to take our the whole Africa, or the whole.
We are not
fully independent. So there are countries that are economically independent in this world.
Let me take, for example, Zambia. I think Zambia is facing some challenge. There's currently they have the USAID.
Yeah, USAID. Yeah.
That was this one.
Trump
last year.
Yeah.
Trump. Currently, the US is threatening to pull and the aid that they are providing South African this one to the
Zambia.
That is the HIV. Yes, the HIV. I think it's the HIV/AIDS. Yeah, they provide certain medical support to Zambia, and US is threatening Zambia that if they do not provide conducive economic environment or special economic treatment to American businesses in their country, they are going to pull that particular aid or that particular support from the country. So imagine you having your country and knowing that, no, this particular thing, if I sign this, if I give you this deal, I'm not making enough from it. You are actually ripping me off. And then tell you that you either accept it or I'm going to stop providing you. I'm stop going to stop providing you with this particular aid or this money. I'm not going to give you this money. If that tells you that you are not economically, if you were economically independent or something, when you go and tell it, you bargain to ensure that each person at either end of the table
Baraka FM.
accepts it, but we just have to we have to struggle and then get it. It's very very important that we attain economic independence. That way, everybody will take us serious.
All right, all right, all right. So I don't know if you can give us some simple steps that you think Ghana, if they follow it, we can be economically independent gradually. Maybe not fully, but maybe we will be getting closer to becoming economically independent. Because you made mention that back in South Africa, why they were achieving their independence was because they came together to support one party. Which Ghana we are having a multi party in the system. If Africa or Ghana are to come together and support one party, do you think with that we can be economically independent, or there is more to that?
No, I'm not. Please, let me. The, the, it is very difficult to have one particular party saying for the whole country, say, we are going to rally behind one party to develop the country. The people, the problem is the people. You understand? There will always be corruption. There will always be, embezzlement of funds. There will always be. What we need is stronger institutions. When the institution is strong, it doesn't matter who comes in. You can be taken out, or like when they realize that this particular there is a rotten person in the system will just takes that person out. So one, we need to build stronger institutions. I think currently we are doing very well as compared to some years back. We are doing very well. What we need is that the people, the change starts with the people. When you go to our market, when we go to our stations, we see all sort of things. A video, you see a video surface, of another country. Look at how nicely their streets are. Look at how their buildings are. Look at how their drainage system works. The same person giving comment or the same person creating content on this other country will come into Ghana or in his country and then he just dump refuse anywhere. We see drivers, just parking anywhere. We are building a lot of roads, a lot of interchange. Then you see people just, distract. We have to be conscious of all this. We have to know that nobody is going to come into our country or our neighborhood to come and develop. It has to start with ourselves. We need to build stronger institutions, and I think we have to pay attention to decentralization. We have to really, really start questioning those that we appoint as assemblymen. Let me start from unit committee members, assemblymen, district chief executives, municipal mayors, and then MCs and co. We need to. They are the people that we have to focus on. We have to help them to develop the local areas, because for me, I think that when you have a DC or a municipal chief executive he's not looking at his looking to win the next election. This person can actually help build his local area or his administrative area. So one, we build stronger institutions. Two, we empower the people. Education is very, very important. Education is very, very important. And then before we can also achieve all these things, you also need to provide alternatives. You can't just walk to a market area and then close all shops and say that how the people are operating are very difficult if you've not provided any alternative. So I think that as government tries as much as we want to move the country away from a lot of the mess that we are in. There has to be a ready alternative where it's favorable to, and it's also easier for other people to just transition, because if transitioning from the old system to the new system is difficult, there's no way that people are going to. You look at a clear example is our this one our head pass. When you go and construct an overpass, there's the distance from one end to the other. You have to take like 15 minutes to walk across the other. Or let me 15 minutes is obvious. Let me say it's going to take the person like 10
7 minutes, yeah.
The person before the person moves. If the person has, by the time the person moves from one end to the other, the person is sweating all over. There's no way the people are going to do that. They will always risk their life crossing the highway. So when we are providing solutions to problems, we shouldn't create problems whilst creating solutions. The solution has to be simple. It has to be something that everybody is willing to accept. And then punishment, like the punishment has to be real. Like we have to bring capital punishment. Like if you are caught, you have to be punished to serve as them. And you see, you don't have to be listening to people say, "Oh, mercy now, bro," all those. See, if the person is messing up, you have to punish the person. Broadcast to let everybody see it. We have people who have been sentenced to death and they are still in prison. They are just so even though if it is one thing that the person is they are giving to the person as a food, the person is still eating. If somebody commits something, you go and put him in some drainage system, let him clear like punishment, like just instant punishment, instant justice. Then we are all. If not, we are still going to be here and then every day we will sit on radio or television and rant and then create content and talk about it. Then we have brilliant minds across the country. We just have to be ready. It just have to be ready, readiness, and then there are some comments or there are some statements that people say. You don't have to. If you really want to do it, I think that there are people who really, really support the government or who really support individuals who are ready to stand up for change. There are people who will really, really support it. So I think I'll use this opportunity to speak to our assemblymen, ECs, and MCs that they should stand on their ground, because for me, I've always said that if you are to ask me that which government or if I want to serve, which area would I want to? I would always say that I would prefer the at district level, because at that particular you are a developmental agent. BCs, MCs, and go, they are the developmental agents. And then if you look at your district, you are able to conduct a research and understand the economic opportunities and then the challenges of this one. You can actually help and start the development from there. When you have to, you just started from there going to the top. If you are going to wait for everything to come from the top, come from Accra, come from Parliament House, if we allocate $100 million, 100 million Ghana cedis, before that money will reach your district, then it's level like 50 million Ghana cedis, because everybody will just keep on. So you take it from down and then you spread it that way. That is how I think we should go. We should start focusing on the ECs and then the MCs. And I was very happy that during the constitutional review, there are a lot of recommendations that these ECs and MCs are good. They should be voted for. No, that way, you actually know that you are voting for you. So when you have the spell out. You are confined to your district assembly, and then you focus on their development. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now that you've mentioned about the solutions and then the problems that we have to underline and then follow, I want to say this. You see, South Africans is so unfortunate that we are coming back to South Africa again. Their problems have been clear: illegal immigration and then documentation. Right now, if let's say they go to the AU and then they solve their problem of documentation, allowing people to come, but in document form, legal form. Do you think the problem has been solved, or there is a more to the problem than they letting people out of their country?
You see, I think we all study the rural-urban migration. When you look at let's look at rural-urban migration. We have the effect on both the rural side and then the urban also areas. What South Africa is experiencing is not this one. It's not illegal immigrants who are causing financial or unemployment in South Africa. No, South Africa's problem is a structural problem. It's a premeditated structural problem. They have actually structured the system in a way to frustrate the black. You see, this is about education. You understand? The people, like I said, the people walking across South African streets saying that protesting. When you look at the people that they are sucking from their country, there's no way an illegal immigrant is going to be a banker or is going to be a bank manager or is going to be, let's say, a board member of it. No. So if you feel like illegal immigrants are taking over your economy, the thing that the illegal immigrants, the economic activities that they are taking or they are doing in your country, you're not going to do them. It's similar to, Africans traveling to Europe or America to go and seek economic opportunities. There's no way, there's no way you can get a typical South African, like example from one of the people who was protesting, saying that maybe I'm joining this one, a waste collecting company in their country, working around my neighborhood, collecting rubbish. Those social were too big to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we've exhausted most of our time, and then we would continue next time when we meet again. To our listeners, this comes to the end of our conversation, and then I don't know if you have any last words so that we can just wrap up the conversation. We're having the next program here.
Okay, so what I would say to my fellow Ghanaians and then fellow African members is that we should all focus on building ourselves, build our economies, and then it doesn't mean that if you have to travel to another person's country to face some sort of embarrassment or harassment, it is better you stay in your country and then you also fight for the economic independence of your country so that your children who are coming will also know what to go and face similar embarrassment. And then to our government, I think this also we should also note this thing and ensure that going forward, we have to put in place that measures that will allow our citizens to be safe in other countries. And then to the South African government, so they have to ensure they have to work on, their documentation problem and also sensitize their people about, it's not everybody that is coming there to come and steal your job. It's people who are coming there for vacations and things, and all these things are very, very important. Education is very, very important.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, to our cherished listeners, we just spoke with Mr. Swala Fuseni talking about the xenophobic attack in South Africa, and then this brings to the end of our interview session with which the show name is Exclusive Campus Show, happening every Saturday at 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And then today we just exhausted the time, and then up next is Al Bayan Islamic Hour with Sheikh Ismail Zakaria, and then he's going to take the next program. Thank you so much. Have a nice weekend.